Friday, January 13th, 2012. Cruise ship Costa Concordia strikes rocks off the coast of Italy.
We're going to drown in here. There is no way out.
Passengers struggle to escape the sinking ship.
Everybody else just started trampling people as they started to get out. And, you know, it's very similar to what you say on the movie The Titanic.
In the end, 32 passengers and crew die. Now, 20 months later, the heavily damaged Concordia is about to be removed from her watery grave. In one of the most audacious and dangerous salvage operations ever attempted, the world's top engineers attempt to raise a ship larger than the Titanic and then float her away. This is the exclusive inside story of one of the greatest engineering challenges of our time. Raising the wreck of the Costa Concordia. 9 a.m. The salvage of the Costa Concordia is at a critical moment.
0900 hours. Okay, we're going up 10%.
After over 18 months of work, the time to roll the heavily damaged ship upright arrives. No one knows how long it will take. And there are dozens of things that could go disastrously wrong.
When we pull this thing around, we're going to create a lot of stresses on the ship. It's just a very critical moment of the project. There's no plan B.
The weakened ship could break apart at any moment.
Yeah, just confirm all personnel of the Concordia.
But for lead engineer Nick Sloan, there is no turning back.
No one knows how heavy the ship is. Within the first 2 hours, we'll know where we are. Most people will be a bit nervous.
Slowly, the cables are tightened. They are pulling with a force of 6,800 tons. But an hour and a half into the operation, the ship has not budged. Getting to this moment required engineers to push the limits of their technological capability. When she was first wrecked, the ship lay vulnerable on the rocks. Now, she's covered in thousands of tons of equipment. Massive flotation chambers have been welded to her exposed side. The plan is to roll her upright onto a giant underwater steel platform. Then they will attach more flotation chambers and float her to the surface. If all goes well, Concordia will eventually be towed away and scrapped. Today is make or break. Will this daring plan actually work? Concordia's journey to this day began more than a year and a half earlier. On Friday, January 13th, 2012, she set sail from a port near Rome, Italy. With over 4,000 people on board, she's one of the world's biggest luxury cruise ships. She has an 800-seat theater, 4 swimming pools, and her own casino. On board, newlyweds David and Denise Saba look forward to the trip of a lifetime.
I thought this is gonna be so romantic for a honeymoon, and Denise is gonna just fall in love with Europe.
It was going to be a very romantic trip.
2.5 hours into the voyage, Concordia heads for the island of Giglio. The plan is to sweep close to the island to give passengers a scenic and dramatic thrill. Traveling at 18 miles an hour, the ship plows into rocks and rips open like a tin can. Passengers have no idea what is going on.
Everything started shaking.
Then a very strong vibration, like ta 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 ta. The ship starts to tilt to one side, and I take out my camera, I start filming.
Passengers' video shows the terrifying scene on board. The engines are flooded. Without power, Concordia drifts a mile and a half out to sea. The scene on board is chaos. People scramble for lifeboats. Then, winds start to push Concordia back towards the island. Concordia slams into rocks a second time and finally comes to a rest. The honeymooners, David and Denise Saba, make it to a lifeboat, but they are far from safe.
It detached, but we all fell towards one side, and everybody was screaming.
It fell very, very violently. And that was the moment that we thought we were gonna die. Suddenly we heard the splash. And that splash was amazing because we knew we were safe.
As water floods in, Georgia and Dean Ananias from Los Angeles are trapped inside with their 2 daughters. They see no way out.
It's very, very scary to think, okay, now I know I'm going to die.
We just came out in prayer. We said our goodbyes.
That's when a ladder appeared out of nowhere.
When that ladder went down, people started screaming. People pushed other people. People were going to die before they got up the ladder.
Yeah.
It was
pandemonium.
The Italian Coast Guard struggles to locate the stricken vessel. Infrared cameras search the dark. Nothing. They are shocked at what they find.
Guarda che casino.
With other passengers, the Ananias family climb the ladder and emerge on the upturned hull. They now face a treacherous climb down the side to the lifeboats.
We held a very thin rope to hoist ourselves down the entire side of the ship.
If one person slipped, one person made one wrong move, that could be the death of everybody.
As they reach the waterline, the family faces a heart-stopping jump.
The lifeboats are bouncing up and down, and you had the time to jump on it.
At that point, I saw people on the lifeboat. I knew I needed to get there. I knew my family needed to get there, and I needed to do what I had to do. And I just went for it.
They leap into the lifeboat and head for shore. Their 5.5-hour ordeal is finally over. All night, lifeboats frantically ferry survivors and casualties to the tiny harbor. Dawn the next morning reveals the full scale of the horror. The massive rock she hit, still embedded in her side. Divers search for missing bodies. This is one of the largest passenger ship disasters since the Titanic. As the authorities start looking for answers, Concordia's owners have a more immediate question: what to do with the ship herself? They turn to Titan Marine. Based in Florida, this outfit has carried out many daring wreck removals. But the Concordia is a whole different ballgame.
For me to come here on the largest wreck removal in history, that's just the greatest thing in the world.
Titan hires international salvage expert Nick Sloan to run the operation.
And then we'll send the Boventure back out to the Mac, and she's got one generator for deployment.
Sloan has run big operations before, but he is amazed by the scale of this job.
In terms of the size of this operation, you could take all the other salvage operations I've been involved in, times them by 10, and then this is what you got in the Costa Concordia. It's the biggest salvage operation by a long way.
His dive team gets to work assessing the wreck. They make a critical discovery. Concordia lies on the edge of a steep underwater cliff and could go crashing 350 feet to the seafloor below.
Basically, when that size ship starts moving, you can't stop it. If she slipped or rolled, she's gone.
The team must now try to stop another catastrophe. It's 2 hours into the largest and most daring salvage operation ever attempted. Right now, Concordia is under immense stress. In the control room, the salvage team monitors the progress. The entire ship must expand slightly before she begins to roll upright. Finally, rusted sections of the hull start to emerge. It's a small victory, but the team is thankful the salvaging is on track. "20 months earlier, the Concordia was in an even more precarious position. Sitting on a steep slope, she could slip at any moment. Somehow, the salvage team had to keep her from falling to the bottom of the ocean.
Time is always the enemy. You know, sometimes it's one day and you lose the ship.
The team must think fast. They come up with an audacious plan. 16 steel cables will be attached to the wreck's left side. Next, divers will attempt to run these cables under the ship and secure them to 4 massive anchor blocks drilled 50 feet into the rock-hard granite beneath.
We had to cut into the granite. That's where the jackhammers, excavators, cutting machines, and of course there's being granite that destroyed a lot of the equipment quite quickly. So we had to have spare parts coming in every week, changing out parts that should last a year.
This is dangerous work. At any moment, Concordia's bulk could slip, crushing the divers underneath. It's a struggle, but finally they get the steel cables under the ship and attached to the anchoring points. These connections can withstand many thousands of tons, which should be enough to keep the ship from moving. The celebration is short-lived. The divers identify another